We've seen that from the government, though, today. They've released their final costings on the campaign trail, with the Treasurer doing that a bit earlier this morning. Let's take you back to the other side of the campaign trail now. Scott Morrison has been campaigning today in the Northern Territory. We did see a bit earlier, as I mentioned, the Coalition said that it will cut $3.3 billion from the public sector if re-elected, and that is to help pay for the extra campaign promises we've learnt about over the last 5.5 weeks. Andrea Crothers has been following the Prime Minister in Palmerston today, and Andrea, the Coalition is arguing that that's the responsible approach for it to be taking at this point.
Yeah, they argue that those savings by cutting the public sector is a responsible way to help pay for everything else. So in terms of what the government has done that's different from the March 29 budget, we've seen $2.3 billion in extra campaign promises that weren't included in that budget. Now, to offset that, they've also revealed $3.3 billion in savings, so cuts to the public service. Now, most of that comes from forcing the sector to tighten its belt through increasing the efficiency dividend by 0.5%. So $2.7 billion to come from that. Departments left footing the bill for the rest of it as well. They'll have to find those savings under changes that the government would make to the way that superannuation for government employees is contributed to. Now, Scott Morrison defended the move today.
This is responsible budgetary management. We've made commitments in this election, and we ensured that we pay for them. I mean, that's how you manage your budget. You live within your means. At this election, we've been responsible in the commitments that we've made, and it's important that we make very clear how we pay for them. Now, as I said, it's a budget of $327.3 billion, which is we're seeking to shave 2.7 off on departmental expenditures, so how they use accommodation, how they manage their administrative expenditure. I mean, that is something that I think is entirely sensible.
Now, on that efficiency dividend, there'll still be exemptions in place for agencies such as the National Disability Insurance Agency, the public broadcaster, as well as Emergency Management Australia. But the key figure to come out of today that the Coalition wants you to focus on is the slight improvement to the bottom line. So forecasting a $1 billion improvement to the deficit, which was forecast in the March 29 budget. So that was initially forecast at $224.7 billion. So meanwhile, today, as the Coalition focuses on its costings, it's also lashing Labor over its costings it's yet to release, which is expected to have higher debt and deficit than the Coalition.
Andrea, we just heard from Anthony Albanese. He did his news conference in Perth, and you probably didn't catch it because you were preparing for this cross, but essentially he was running out of patience with the gathered press pack. They were chasing him out the building, throwing questions at him that Mr Albanese wouldn't answer, and during the Q&A session you've got to say he was getting pretty grumpy with some of the reporters trying to get answers out of the opposition leader. What's it been like following Scott Morrison? You're campaigning in the Northern Territory today. Is he showing signs of fatigue, of being over it?
Well, it is a bit of a different mood on this campaign bus, Ash, because unlike Anthony Albanese, who we have seen previously be willing to take some multiple questions from journalists, although that now appears to be changing, Scott Morrison, you don't always get a question in, and when he wants to leave, he'll do so very quickly. Today, there was a bit of a change of tact in the sense of the local candidate was willing to have a bit more of a chat, take a bit more of a couple of questions, and almost became unstuck when talking about the super housing policy. But Scott Morrison was soon quickly whisked away by his office, his advisors.
And so in terms of what he's doing there today, Northern Territory, often one of the hot spots on an election campaign trail for both leaders to visit, with those couple of seats there often changing hands.
Yeah, that's right. So we have just actually arrived at a care flight base here. We aren't allowed yet inside, so sorry we can't give you any better background there, Ash, but we know that the Northern Territory, it's home to two seats. Both are marginal, both are held by Labor. We're currently in the seat of Solomon right now, so this is one which has been held by Labor's Luke Gosling since 2016. The seat, though, that the coalition is really focusing on, though, is Lingiari. So that's that seat which covers the remaining 99% of the territory. It's been held by Warren Snowden since creation, but he's retiring this election. So the coalition is hopeful that the Country Liberal Party candidate, who is the ex-Alice Springs Mayor, Damien Ryan, might be the one who'll be able to flip that to their favour.